protect our future, we must learn from the past, don't you think? Without doubt, every old picture, postcard and photograph tells a story, and each one is worth 1,000 words. They are a reflection of a bygone age. And I think it's very, very important that we take photographs today. I take photographs of change in Rhyl and Prestatyn. We have a wealth of documented history in old photographs and postcards from the early 1900s onwards. But what have we got for future generations? What photographs and postcards have we got for future generations? So I advise everybody to take photographs today, otherwise we'll have nothing for future generations, and I hope to prove that to you tonight. This is Prestatyn High Street. This is a lovely story regarding Mr. Tom Burrows. This is where opposite the video shop is in is a Blockbusters in High Street, and today it's owned by Tim Williams and it's called Sept. At the time this photograph was taken, it was a baker's shop run by T. Hughes and Sons, Thomas and Tudor Hughes. Thomas is in the driving seat and Tudor Hughes is in the doorway talking about the finer points of baking to Mr. Tom Burrows. And every bakery in those early years had a bakehouse at the rear of the shop, and where they baked the fresh bread, and the Hughes and Sons shop was famous for their batter breath. In fact, when the vast numbers of visitors came to Prestatyn in those early years, visitors came into the shop, bought a batter breath, found it was so delicious, and that they asked the owners to post them a batter breath regularly, and which happened in those days. And I was told that by the granddaughter of T. Thomas Hughes, who's still alive today, living in Prestatyn. The man with the cane and the briefcase is a man called Tom Burrows, and it's him we thank for the vast numbers of postcards he produced of Prestatyn and district, which were sold in souvenir shops and newsagents shops in the area. And he also had a shop in a photographer's shop in Prestatyn. We'll have a look at that now. And he also he had two sons, Tom and Andrew Burrows, which he took photographs of in various guises in and around Prestatyn, and these he sold in his shop. I'm just going to show you, because of time, just a couple of postcards by Tom Burrows. As you can see there on the right, Burrows and Sons, Prestatyn. This is Prestatyn High Street in 1890. Fantastic postcard. It's looking down from the top of High Street. The spire of the parish church is one of the most, or the most famous landmark in the town, and it was built in 1863. The cottages, on the thatched roof cottages on the right have long since gone, of course, and Powell's the jewellers is, and there's an off licence. I can't remember the name of the off licence, is at the top of here today.
Bargain Booze. Bargain
Booze. Thanks, Mike. Only you would know that answer. Yes, also just to put you in perspective. So we're looking down the High Street 110 years ago. It's amazing, isn't it? And when all vehicles, of course, were horse drawn, and the roads weren't even tarred in those days. Very, very muddy in the winter, and very, very dusty in the summer. Notice the drain on the right hand side on heavy rainy days. There was a stream running down here, and notice the slabs of stone across the gutter for people to cross while there was a stream running down here. Anyway, we could go on and on about this photograph, but as I say, time doesn't permit. So that was one postcard by Mr. Tom Burrows, and this is around 1940s. Another postcard by Tom Burrows. This is on Prestatyn Promenade, and I love the fashion of the 20s. There's a lady there on the right wearing a lovely cloche hat in the days when men wore cloth caps there and the ladies wore cloche hats, of course, in the 20s. And I wouldn't mind having that pram there on the left. Fantastic, isn't it? It really is. And these early holiday makers must have been absolutely no deodorants. Must have been sweating, and I'd have hated to go near these early holiday makers, but there was no such things as getting sunburnt in those days. It was unheard of. But anyway, there's two postcards by Mr. Tom Burrows, and it's him we thank for these absolutely fascinating insights.
Is that the swimming pool at Top Harry?
On the left is where the beach pavilion was built, and today it's where the Nova Centre is. On the left.
What's this then?
Wait, I'm looking for the different. It's a very good question. I can't.
It looks as if it's got access to the foreshore there, doesn't it? I mean, this is the top, as you say, where the Lido is. And
it is, yeah. Otherwise, if you'd be looking from the other way, it'd be the golf house.
Yeah. Could be chalets.
Yeah.
Because they were double stacked, weren't they?
Yeah,
they were free anyway.
Thanks, Mike.
All right. I'm always there to create trouble.
Thanks. Tom Burrows also as well owned this building, and it's where he printed Tom Burrows printed the Prestatyn Weekly in 1905, and this is a photograph I took before they closed in the early 80s, and they were amalgamated with the Rhyl Journal. And today it's a kebab shop opposite the old post office in King's Avenue.
Next door was Chilton Brothers, the hardware shop, yeah?
That's correct, thank you, yes. Chilton's.
Chilton's.
Yes. So, as I say, this is just to show you how important it is to take photographs. Modern photographs are just as important as old photographs. And on the left there, this is looking down the high street. The road veering to the left is where King's Avenue is where we saw the Prestatyn Weekly offices, is where the old post office was located. On the corner there, the rack of postcards. I wouldn't mind stepping into this postcard and seeing what was on that rack of postcards. But that's where Tom Burrows had his shop. It was known as Burrows. And believe it or not, I've never ever seen a photograph of a postcard of his shop. That's very unusual. You'd think he'd have taken a photograph of his own shop, but I've never ever seen one. And it was here that he sold the views of holidaymakers bought views like this particular one. They were on the rack, and holidaymakers wrote on the back, "Having a wonderful time, wish you were here," and off they would be posted to grandmothers, brothers, wives and girlfriends during the years. And also as well, a very popular postcard were the two little lads he took of his own sons, and he produced into postcard. And he sold on these. He sold on this rack here. That little girl, by the way, is known. Her name is Kathleen, because on the back of this postcard it says, "Hi, Mum. I don't know if you can see me. I'm standing on the corner. Love, Kathleen." That's very true. That is. It's amazing. And Jones the Outfitters was one of the first shop opened in Prestatyn, and it was later known as the Paragon. And the trees where Woolworths was later to be built, and today Home Bargains is located here. Lovely step back in time, it really is.
And Burroughs' shop became Greaves, and I used to buy my first records there in the 50s and 60s.
These, as I say, Tom Burroughs, the photographer, had two sons, Tom and Andrew, and we're now going to have a look at a couple of postcards which were produced by Tom Burroughs, and they were sold in the shop. And this is going back to the early 1900s, and how I discovered that one of these lads was still alive, and he was living in an old people's home in Prestatyn, and I went to see him, and a photograph was taken. Anyway, that's one. There's another one of the two, Tom and Andrew, on the and that's the beach cafe in the on the beach there, very popular, located behind where the amusement arcades are today on Beach Road. Another photograph of Tom and Andrew, this time in schoolboy clothes, and this is on Bodnant Bridge. And this is my favourite. I mean, can you see how popular this particular postcard must have been to send home to relatives on holiday? Happy days at Prestatyn. Absolutely. This is Tom and Andrew up in Fodlas, the road going up by the Cross Foxes. Now, this book, this particular postcard was in my first book, Prestatyn and Dizith, a Pictorial Past. And I went into the library one day, and one of the librarians said to me, "Harry, do you know the photograph you've got of Tom and Andrew Burroughs on the horse, on the donkey, sorry, the manky donkey on the Fodlas?" Ah, it's a shame, isn't it? Yeah. Tom, Andrew died. In fact, Andrew, I vaguely remember Andrew in Prestatyn as an old man, and he had a stooped back and he couldn't straighten it, and he was cruelly known as Bendy Burroughs, which was very sad. Anyway, that's Tom on the left there. I was told that he was still alive by this librarian and living in an old people's home in Prestatyn. So I phoned the home up, and I said, "Is it possible to see Tom? Because he's in one of my books as a little boy." And I made arrangements to go up, and the photograph was taken. And I think the next picture is of me and Tom Burroughs, the little lad there on the left. Oh no! Before we see that, the lady, the librarian, I went up to her house, and she said, "I'm the god." She was the godmother, and she gave me this fantastic head and shoulders photograph of Tom and Andrew Burroughs. Tom there on the right, and Andrew there on the left. So anyway, I went up to see Tom, and with my camera, and this photograph was taken in an old people in a home in Clwyd Avenue in Prestatyn. And that's me on the left. And that's Tom Burroughs, the little boy in the white shirt on the donkey we saw. And that was taken in 1985. But sadly, 3 years after this photograph was taken, Tom died. So what a lovely story, and it's nice to have photographs to go with it as well, isn't it? Now then, this is my favourite story. This is my favourite story that I've written over the years in the memory lane, and it's this is Rhyl High Street, it's an Edwardian scene around 1910, and just to put you in perspective, the building with the ivy on the left that says the Royal Hotel is where the Piazza restaurant is today. And the building, the coach and horses in the further up there on the left are outside where McDonald's is today. And of course, it was in the days when vehicles were horse-drawn. Ladies wore crinoline dresses and bonnets, and men wore boater hats and trilbies and waistcoats and collarless shirts. And this particular coach and horses was known as the Tally-Ho, and it was the forerunner of today's charabancs, and it took people to local beauty spots, and the building there on the white little box there on the left, you can see that's where the booking office was, and people got on this coach and horse. They met on the promenade. It must have been a very hot day, because there's a lady there wearing a parasol. But have you noticed how white these? The washing they must have done must have been horrendous, because I mean they were they must have easily got dirty. But intoxicatingly beautiful, I think, the fashion of the day. I really do. The women in the long dresses and the bonnets, and I absolutely love the Victorian and Edwardian dress. It really touches me very much, and compared to the fashion today, as you know, t-shirts and jeans for men, and t-shirt and jeans for women as well. But anyway, bring back the fashion of the hats. All's forgiven, I think. I'd love to wear a hat again. Does anybody wear a hat? Any men wear a hat here?
Only in the sunshine.
Yeah. Only in the sunshine, yeah.
Is that W.H. Smith's there?
On the right,
yeah.
Yeah, that's right, yeah. W.H. Smith's. So we know where we are here, and as I say, it was in the days, of course, when fashions were absolutely fantastic, and class was totally seen to be lived, and it was in the days before women were emancipated, of course, you know. And but one lady who broke all those rules, and who came to Rhyl in 1907. She was a fraudulent heiress, and she claimed that she was the goddaughter of General Gordon of Khartoum. Now General Gordon was famous for his for the South African and China wars, of course. And this is the lady herself, Violet Charlesworth. Men in Rhyl were falling all over her feet. She radiated beauty and charm and allurement, and as I say, she came from the Midlands with her mother in 1907, I think I said 1907. To live in Rhyl, and when they came to Rhyl, she made people think that she was going to. She told everybody she was going to get £100,000 in inheritance off a godfather, General Gordon, the cartoon, but it was not to be. So where did they live? They lived on near the Vorrid here, but they found out that the Vorrid was too noisy, so they moved up to a mansion in St Asaph, a small mansion in St Asaph known as Borderu. And this is Violet Charlesworth. This is outside the Plough in St Asaph, and Violet Charlesworth was always seen driving this particular car and wearing a red. People wore red cloak because the cars were open in those days, and she always wore this red cloak, and she had 2 dogs as well in the car. And she was always seen driving about in this car with this red cloak, and that'll become quite famous later on. And she, on the strength of her getting her inheritance of General Gordon, she loaned £10,000 off a businessman in Rhyl, and she also loaned £5,000 from a stockbroker in London, promising to pay them back on her inheritance when she was 24. When she was 25, she'd be getting this inheritance. But it was not to be. On the day an inheritance was due, all these people wanted their money back, and she was in debt of £75,000, and that was in 1907, a vast amount of money in those days. So do you know what she did? This is hard to believe. She was out of the ordinary, this woman, in the Edwardian days when women weren't emancipated yet. But she was a true con artist. She faked her own death by taking a car up to Penmaenmawr, and pushing it over the cliff. Now, disbelieving police found the car but couldn't find a body, and they didn't believe that this woman had committed suicide, or that she'd plunged over the cliffs in Penmaenmawr. Anyway, they found her alive and well and living with her mother in Scotland. And they brought her back. They arrested her, and while she was waiting charges against her, she went out on bail. And this is and by the way, this particular case was made headline news all over Great Britain. While she was on bail, she went to the theatres in London, and while she walked on stage in a red cloak, by the way, when police were looking for her, they were looking for a woman with a red cloak, and ladies. It was the fashion of the day, and ladies in the at the time were too scared to wear. Embarrassed to wear a red cloak in case they were mistaken for this fraudster Violet Charlesworth. But anyway, she went on stage while she was out on bail, and while she made a vast amount of money while she was wearing this red cloak on stage. Somebody narrated her story. And there was a postcard produced. The case was so famous that there was a postcard produced of the cliffs in Penmaenmawr, and showing a cross where the car went over. And this is it. I think this is the next one. And this is it. And it's known as Violet's Leap. Notice the cross there on the white cross there in the centre. And that's where Violet Charlesworth was supposed to have pushed the car over the, well, that's where she pushed the car over the cliff. Oh, did anybody know that story at all? No. As I say, it's my favourite. I've discovered so many. I've discovered over 300 stories since I've been writing local history, and this is my favourite. I think I've got great love for this woman. She's so attractive. I think I'd have fallen for her. Here, here's all my money. Anyway, let's take one last look at it.
What happened to her?
Oh yes, I'll tell you what's happened to her now. Where are we? Is it before that, is it?
After. Yes.
No, I think it was before that, wasn't it?
Before this, yes.
Yeah, we're going into fair place.
Go to those. Getting on.
There we are. It's absolutely gorgeous. Come to bed, eyes. And the hatters as well. That hat would be worth a few quid now, wouldn't it? You know, if you could have that, you know, this is Violet Charlesworth hat.
Did she have two puppy dogs in front of her? Or?
Yes, she had two dogs, that's right. She had two dogs which she took everywhere in the car. Very fashionable to have fox furs in those days as well.
Yeah.
But as I say, the police found her alive and well with her mother in Oban in Scotland. And when she went back to when they finally charged her, the judge gave her 5 years hard labour. What a shame! I'd have paid her. I'd have paid for it. Yeah, beautiful lady anyway, and a very rare photograph that as well. Because there aren't. This is the only photograph I've been able to find of. And she never got married, so it would be nice if she'd have had children and to talk to them. And as I say, no. And it's not known what happened to her after. No doubt she. She went into seclusion, and that's where she died. This is above Burton's in Rhyl High Street, and it's called during the 60s it was known as the Regent's Sept. Anybody remember that?
Yeah. We went there.
You went there?
Yes.
Dear me.
Yeah.
And it's where the Beatles played, of course, in 1960. The very first time that the Beatles ever played in Wales was here in 1962 at the Regent's Sept. And this is a newspaper cutting. Unfortunately, I can't remember all the writing on there, but it says a famous Merseyside. Let's have a look.
The most popular group of this type in North West. I've just undertaken a recording.
Can you just get past, please? Thanks. Yes. The Beatles, who are recognised as Merseyside's top group, are performing at the Regent's Ballroom on Saturday this week, the 14th, and will undoubtedly prove a tremendous attraction. They are the most popular group of this type in North Wales, and have just undertaken a recording contract with EMI. Well, they were just going to record Love Me Do, the very first record. And this is expected to be released and at the end of August. And They have also twice broadcast in Peter Williams's Teenager's Turn with conspicuous success. Return visits are invariably a must wherever they perform, and there will be, they will undoubtedly be a big crowd to welcome them at the Regents on Saturday.
What year was that? Do you know?
62.
Bill Young and Nancy.
62.
And this is an advert for the Regent's Stand Set 1962, and it was 5 shilling to see them play 25 pence. And the manager of the Regent's Stand Set was Joe Young.
Yes.
And him and his wife remember seeing when they his daughter, Joe Young's daughter, still alive. She works in the solicitor's office in Rhyl, and she told me that her parents, when the Beatles arrived, that they were wearing leather jackets and tight pants, and they thought, what a bunch of yobbos. Until they had a piano downstairs, until John Lennon started playing classical music on the piano. I'd love to have a photograph of that, dear me. Just bear thinking of. Pat Jones and a friend from Prestatyn who went to the Regent's Stand Set. I think they were only 17 years old. Told me that they asked Joe Young, could they go into the Beatles dressing room and get their autographs? And they said, yeah, go and help yourself. So they went. They knocked on the door. And when they opened the door, the Beatles were in red underpants. They'd only just changing, and all they were wearing was red underpants. And Pat was saying that's the first time I've ever seen a man half naked, let alone the Beatles. And she's recently sold them autographs for £300. So that was a good night, wasn't it? And of course they came back to Rhyl again to the Ritz, and we'll look at that later on. They also played at Prestatyn in 1962. At the this is the Lido, which is today the Nova in Prestatyn, and in 1962 the Beatles also played here. The Royal Lido, Prestatyn, the Beatles. Recording of Love Me Do, which has just come out, and it only went to number 17 in the charts, by the way. And before they went on stage, they went up to Alan Veach, the chef, and they asked them, could we have some northern delicacies before a northern delicacy before we go on stage, and Alan said, well, what is it? What is a northern delicacy? And he said, a plate of jam butties. So that's what Alan Veach made for them. They had a plate full of jam butties before they went on stage. And these girls here, who today live in Rhyl, they went to see the Beatles at the Lido in '62. That lady on the left's on drugs, I think. And they remember going to see the Beatles there.
Is that Stromer, Harry?
I don't.
Second on the right.
You know what? I can't remember the names.
Williams, isn't it?
I can't remember the names.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
Looks like it.
Yeah, I don't know. I can't remember the names. I'm sorry.
Sounds right.
You must ask her when you see her. Yeah, ask her when you see her. Yeah. But don't tell her I said she was on drugs. Is that the lady?
No.
Oh, no, not her.
Second from the right.
Second from the right.
Oh right, I wouldn't know. I don't know. Really, I should have the names printed on the photograph, which I will do. So they went to see the Beatles at the Lido, as I said, and it it was in the days, of course, when the hippie shake, rock and roll, the jive were the dances of the day. And there was a special bus laid on for the people who went to the Lido to see the Beatles, and these girls had missed the last bus home, so they were waiting outside to see if they could get a lift off somebody. And while they were waiting, they saw the Beatles coming out and packing up the van in the back, with John Lennon and John Lennon's new wife Cynthia Lennon. And one of them shouted over, "Hey, is there any chance of a lift home back to Rhyl?" And Paul McCartney shouts, which one of you is Miss Rhyl? And one of the girls said, "The one with black hair." And they've all got black hair, of course. And they shouted over again, "Any chance of a lift home?" And John Lennon quips, "No, not today," and not tonight, sorry. And then the girl says, "Well, I won't be buying any of your records." And John Lennon replies back and says, "Oh, that's okay. I've already bought 20,000 anyway." So at the end of the night, when Mr. Jackson, the manager, closed up for the night, he saw the girls, and he took them along the long and winding road home back to Rhyl. And they made a comeback to Rhyl in 1963. They came here twice to the Ritz. And it's where the ocean, it was burned down in 1968, it's where the Ocean Beach Fun Fair was once located. And this is an advert for the Ritz, and if you look second from the bottom, the Beatles. Jet Harrison, Tony Meehan, they were... For memory serves me, that weren't they members of the Tornadoes? Shadows. I don't think so. They were members of the Tornadoes, weren't they? You know, Telstar.
Yeah, Harris. Excuse me. Yeah.
And they were only on £30 a week. The Beatles were in these early years. But when Please Please Me came out in 1963, it went to #1, and the manager was giving them £200 a week, and that was in the early 60s. Would you like to see a photograph of the Beatles on stage at the Ritz? And of course, they disbanded in 1970s, and not only did these four lads, the four lads who shook the world, they also shook the clubs in North Wales as well, and they visited Llandudno and Mold as well.
Is that Ringo drawing?
Yes, yeah, definitely Ringo, because this photograph was given to me by Ray O'Brien, a Beatles expert, and who's written books on the Beatles, and I pointed this out. I said, "That doesn't look like Ringo Starr," and he says, "Yes, it is Ringo Starr, it's the angle it's taken on." And of course, my favourite story about the Beatles is when they played the Royal Variety performance at the end of 1963, and John Lennon said to the audience, "For those of you in the cheap seats, clap your hands, and for those of you in the more expensive seats, rattle your jewellery." Great. And what an amazing man John Lennon was, and some of the music he could have written if he'd have been alive today. This man is a great hero, and his name's Arthur Rowland Jones, and he lived in the Nook in Prestatyn, and he was first officer on the Lusitania, the sister ship of the Titanic, and he lived down here, down Chapel Street, opposite to where the police station is today in Prestatyn. That's Chapel Street. And he lived in a house down here, little cottage down here known as the Nook. But today, unfortunately, it's long gone, and now it's the now it's a sheltered home for for elderly people. So this is what the where the Nook, Arthur Rowland Jones's home, was once located here. So if you go down to Chapel Street, this is what you'll see where the Nook was. And this is the Lusitania. He was first captain on the Lusitania, and it was torpedoed off Southern Ireland in 1915. And Arthur Rowland Jones was instrumental in saving many lives. Out of the 2,000, is this mic still working? Yeah. Out of the 2,000 people that were on the Lusitania, only 700 survived. But Arthur Rowland Jones is instrumental in getting the lifeboats down to the water and saving a vast number of lives. In fact, as he was rowing away with 80 passengers, an empty lifeboat came past. And he put 40 into this empty lifeboat, and he rowed back to where the Lusitania was sinking, and managed to save many more lives by the people who were either floating or sinking around the Lusitania. And of course, a naval vessel came along and saved the survivors, and took them back to Liverpool. And at the inquest in London, this is Arthur Rowland Jones is the man on the left with his hands together. It's Arthur Rowland Jones, and they were asked to give testimonials, all the survivors, of what happened, and they gave a glowing report on Arthur Rowland Jones and how he was the hero and of the day. But sadly, in 1918, while captain of an iron ore carrying ship, it was torpedoed and it sank and it killed him. He was only, I think, 38.
Did he get an award, Harry?
No, he didn't. That's very sad. No, and he was married to a woman called Elizabeth, and he also had a son called Roland. And I managed to find out where his gravestone was, and it's in Prestatyn churchyard. But I think that the best gravestone, I think, if you can call it the best gravestone, there's a humorous gravestone in Prestatyn churchyard, and it's a man who's left a message from the grave. It dates to it's one of the oldest gravestones there, 1869. A man from Anglesey, and he's on the gravestone. It's written. Sorry to go off the point at the moment, but it says. Not on Arthur Rowland Jones, it's on this other gravestone. Remember me as you pass by, as you are now, so once was I. As I am now, so you shall be. Prepare yourself to follow me. And Joyce Grenville's is a good one as well. Joyce Grenville, here lies Joyce, she didn't want to, but she had no choice. And of course we all know Spike Milligan's, what's on Spike Milligan's gravestone. I told you I was ill. Yeah. Anyway, Arthur Rowland Jones on the left there, and I managed to find his gravestone and this is the photograph I took of his gravestone in memory of Arthur Rowland Jones, first captain of the Lusitania and later captain of the Avanti. He was only 38 years old when he died. And his wife's buried there as well as his son Roland.
Son was really young, wasn't he?
And Roland himself, when he died age 42 in 1952, I was 4 years old then. Because he didn't take up local history then, I'd have probably met him. Well, it's a silly thing to say anyway. Over there we are, the story of Arthur Rowland Jones, a great hero in Prestatyn, which not many people know of. Rhyl Pier, pictured in the early 1900s. It was a quarter of a mile long. It was the very first pier built in North Wales, and it was built in 1867. And it was the favourite place for people to is one of the greatest attractions, of course. In Rhyl, you could walk along the pier and watch the sea lapping up between the boards, the wooden boards. Sit on a seat and read your favourite book. Or go to the end of the pier and the fearless and famous divers of the day dive off the end of the pier. And this is a view of the pier from the other end, from the sea end, looking down. St Thomas's Church, 125 foot high, is seen in the distance there, and there are 97 steps up to the clock tower. So you can walk up there, and the view must be spectacular. The only known case of suicide that I've been able to discover was a woman who came here on holiday, and she came to the end of the pier, left a hat and umbrella here, and before doing this she wrote a letter to her sister saying, "By the time you read this, I shall be beneath the waves under Rhyl Pier," and off she went and threw herself over into the deep when the tide was right in, and drowned. Only documented suicide on Rhyl Pier. And it must have been absolutely fabulous coming here in those early years, and of course in the 50s and 60s and 70s. It was demolished in 74, and sitting on that seat there in a beautiful blazing sun, long hot summer day, and reading a book, or being with the one you love, or being with the one you don't love either. Beautiful. But the people used to absolutely, the jaws were wide open. There was a jaw-dropping time when they saw the fearless divers and swimmers off Rhyl Pier. But one man who didn't have the word danger in his vocabulary was a man called Tommy Burns. And he was so famous as a diver and swimmer that this. Do you remember when a packet? I don't. Before my time, when packets of cigarettes had cigarette cards in them. Well, this is a cigarette card from an Ogden Cigarettes, and this you could collect these cigarette cards, and the medals on his vest are medals from the Humane Society for saving lives. he saved over 200 lives, and also for his diving and swimming exhibitions. He once dived into shark-infested waters and saved a man's life. He was only 36. He came from Stockport, by the way. But on this particular time, he was coming to Rhyl. A 100-foot platform was built at the end of Rhyl Pier for his diving exhibition. He was going to dive off this 100-foot platform, do some swimming exhibitions, run up to Rutland Castle, plant a flag, and run back. Anyway, that's very true. You don't believe it. Anyway, that's very, very true. And but when the pier master met him on Rhyl station, he was the worst. He was worse than where for drink. And as the pier master came to bring him to the pier, there were thousands of people thronged the pier, the promenade, and the top of High Street to see this famous brave man dive off this 100-foot platform and do some swimming exhibitions, and then run up to Rutland Castle and come back. But was he to do it? Unfortunately, as he was climbing, he managed to climb the platform. I should have mentioned the date, by the way. It was 1868. When he managed to die, he managed to climb the platform. But when he made his spectacular dive, he was disorientated with the alcohol, and his arms and his legs were all over the place. And unfortunately, he didn't dive into the water as he should have done. He belly flopped and knocked him unconscious. People dived in to see if he was okay, but he'd swallowed so much water that he drowned and he died. And there was a photograph produced of Tommy Burns. This is the last of his dive, a very rare photograph. And as you can see, his arms and his legs. Tommy Burns' last and famous, as you can see on the bottom there. Tommy Burns' last and fatal dive. 1867, 1869. Sorry.
Want to drink, Harry?
That's very kind of you. Thank you very much.
Holy water.
Oh, vodka. And while this photograph was hurriedly printed and put in Magnet Studios' window in the High Street where Marks and Spencer's is today, and you couldn't get near the window with the crowds wanting to see this spectacular photograph.
Well, Alfred Sweetie then, wasn't it?
No, I think you know what's coming. There's a moral to this story. You should never drink and dive. Do you like that, do you? This is Tower Beach Holiday Camp in Prestatyn, opened in 1939. Today, Tower Beach Gardens is located here. It's a housing estate. And this is a lovely story. In fact, I was going to include this in if I'd have had time, in Prestatyn Rhyl's famous visitors, but I've included it in tonight. So, opened in 1939, and it was run by it was jointly controlled by the LMS company and Thomas Cook. And it was known as the Chalet Village by the Sea. And this is what an early guide said of Prestatyn Holiday Camp. As soon as you arrive, the first thing you notice is the number of flowers. They're literally everywhere on the camp. Who wants to see flowers when you go on holiday? Yes. Creating a wonderful south of France atmosphere. It's hard to believe at first, almost like, is that clear? Is it my eyes?
Yeah,
is it clear?
Yeah.
My eyes. It's almost hard to believe at first, like a holiday on the continent. Clean modern buildings surrounded by colourful chalets, and the free and easy do-as-you-please atmosphere greets you as soon as you arrive. There's a lavishly appointed swimming, I love that word, appointed, you don't hear that anymore, appointed swimming pool and lido. tennis, bowls and gymnasium and the finest ballroom in North Wales, and nurseries to take care of the toddlers. The fun at the holiday camp doesn't finish when the sun goes down. Twice a week there's a first-rate show, and you can dance every evening to the excellent orchestra in the ballroom, and the Friday night fancy dress is one of the highlights of your stay. It's gay, it's great. Prestatyn holiday camp in lovely, well if it's gay I'm not going there. Lovely North Wales. I love all these words we don't use anymore. You know, like a lido, we don't use the word lido as a swimming pool, as a swimming centre. Gay, that's another one, isn't it? When it's very, very windy, it's a blustery day. It's another word we don't. Can anybody think of any others? Blustery day. There we are. So anyway, in 1952, a famous actor came to judge the Neptune's daughter here. Can anybody tell me who it was?
Wasn't Harry Seacombe, was it?
Not Harry Seacombe, no. This is the inside the camp itself. There's the reception part on the left, and that's the Hamlin Tower, named after the man who built the camp, architect for the LMS, William Hamlin. And how mean can you get? Because when people came on holiday here, there were a pair of binoculars on a chain on the top, and there was a turnstile on the bottom, and to get to the top, to look at the binoculars, to see the spectacular views of Prestatyn Hills, you paid threepence in the turnstiles. Hey, on holiday you think they'd let you in for nothing, wouldn't you?
Was it Roger Moore?
No, it wasn't Roger Moore. No. Oh, by the way, I've got 2 questions which I forgot to mention in my introduction. I've got 2 postcards, original postcards, which I'm going to give away as prizes to 2 questions I'm going to ask tonight regarding my slideshow presentation. Anyway, we'll come to that later.
Moon's a balloon man.
Very, very good. Yes, give that man a check. Yeah, the moon's a balloon man. Yeah. Anyway. That's the reception, and when as soon as the holiday makers arrived at the reception part, they all received a badge, and this is a small collection of badges that I have from the camp. And a few weeks back, a man who I know showed me a 1939 very rare badge, and he wouldn't part with it. Anyway, I'm buying a gun tomorrow. So they're the badges. Then there was a large collection of badges, and Pontins took it over in the 70s. But I am quite saddened that tower should have been, because it was a landmark in Prestatyn, and it was a reminder of holidays, and the very first holiday camp built in North Wales that was. But unfortunately, when I inquired about keeping the Hamlin Tower as a landmark, they said it was full of asbestos and had to come down. What a load of rubbish! Because they could have fenced that off. They could have fenced the whole tower off.
So it's going fluid. They've not knocked that down yet.
So anyway, David Niven, was anybody right?
Yeah.
Yeah, good. David Niven came to judge the. He was invited to judge the Miss Neptune contest at the camp here. And there he is crowning the winner, and Sandra Richardson from Yorkshire, and she received for her prize. She received a full wardrobe of clothes and 2 weeks in Hollywood. And of course, David Niven. Can anybody tell me just one of his famous films?
Guns of Navarone.
There was Guns of Navarone, very good. But there was one favourite. There was another famous one. It's one of my favourite films of all time.
Around the world in 80 days.
Genevieve?
Around the world in 80 days, was it?
Yeah, no. There's another famous one with
the war one.
with Clark Gable, not with Clark Gable, with oh God, what's his name?
Errol
Errol
Flynn.
Flynn.
No,
Genevieve.
no, not Genevieve. Wuthering Heights.
Was it?
Yes, it was in Wuthering Heights. Yeah. And the entertainment manager said to him, he said, "There's an act. Sorry, I do apologise. It's the other way round." David Niven inquired about to the entertainment manager. A famous a friend of mine lived around here, Emlyn Williams, and this is Emlyn Williams, famous for his book The Cornish Green, his life as growing up as a little child in the mining town of Glanravon. And he said yes. The entertainment manager says he lives in he was brought up in a little pub in Glanravon called the White Lion. I'll get Bob Jones the taxis to take you up there. So Bob Jones came down in his taxi to Prestatyn holiday camp and took Emlyn Williams. This is Glanravon in the 50s. The White Lion can be seen there on the right there. Extremely rare card of this is the only view I've ever seen postcard of only postcard I've ever seen of Glanravon. Very rare. And where'd you get these from, Harry? Anyway, the White Lion, and we took him up to the White Lion Glanravon, and Bob Jones knocked on the door and couldn't get an answer. He wanted David Niven wanted to at least have a drink and look around where his friend Emlyn Williams was brought up, and knocked on the door, no answer, but a woman opened the top window to the pub and shouted, "Who is it? Who is it?" And Bob Jones says, "I've got David Niven here. He'd like to see where his friend Emlyn Williams lived. Is it all right to come in for a drink?" And she promptly shouted, "Yes, and I'm Marilyn Monroe," and promptly shuts the window, slams the window, which unfortunately David Niven did never ever get to see. But wouldn't that be great if somebody had taken a photograph of that, David Niven at the pub? Great. Just a couple more postcards left now, I think, for slides. This is the passage of time has dealt a very, very cruel blow to Rhyl, to Ryl's fondly remembered attractions, and this was taken in the 70s, and unfortunately, when Rhyl was once known as the Blackpool of Wales, and I'm afraid to say Rhyl today, I would call it the black spot of Wales, because it's certainly lost its character, personality. There's no attractions there. Somebody's made a right mess to the place, and you don't see the vast number of crowds. Vast numbers used to alight at the at Rhyl station from the north and the Midlands, and it was said on bank holidays as many as 5,000 people a week alighted, passengers alighted at Rhyl station.
Yeah, I was talking to somebody at the bus station in Rhyl only a couple of weeks back.
Yes.
People were getting off the train and asking where the sea was.
I can
There's
believe
no
that.
indication.
No, at one time you could see the sea at one time if you stood on the top of High Street, but sadly it's no longer there, and Shall we have a look at some of the attractions that have just long gone? Some of these, three of the most famous attractions in Rhyl. We have the pavilion there in the distance, opened in 1908 and demolished in 1984, and of course famous stars of stage, screen and television appeared at the pavilion. Let's just go through run through a few, shall we? Jimmy Jewell and Ben Morris, Tommy Trinder, Mike and Bernie Winters, Shirley Bassey, yes. Who's that? And the man who drew the most crowds, and I can't remember his name, was that South Walian singer, half caste.
Shirley Bassey?
No, nearly. No, his brother.
Frankie Vaughan?
No, not Frankie Vaughan. Arthur Askey appeared here of course as well. Arthur Askey. Who was the name of that man? That half caste man, and
There's a circus every year.
circus every year here. That's right. Yes.
What did he do?
Anybody, if anybody can remember that, because I can't. It can't come to mind at the moment, and I've got it now. I'll have to go see the doctor. Paul Robeson.
Oh.
And he drew the most crowds here. And the last people to the last famous stars of screen to appear here, and they're my favourites, were Morecambe and Wise, and of course my favourite British comedian of all time was Les Dawson. And my favourite joke of his is, you can tell when the mother-in-law is knocking on the door, the mice throw themselves on the traps. That's the pavilion. Demolished in 1984. The Royal Floral Hall was.
That was good too.
That was opened in 1959, and it had cacti and cacti. That's cacti and flowers from all over the world inside here, and also there was butterflies and birds in free flight as well here.
Shame, isn't it sad to see when it's done?
And in the 3 years it was opened from 1959, it attracted 3 million people. The Royal Floral Hall did.
Good God.
But sadly, due to the neglect of the plants and the windows being vandalised, smashed, it had to be taken down. And the swimming pool on the right, of course, that was opened in 1930 and closed in the 1970s. And that, I mean, just look at the crowds there.
Yeah.
And roughly, well, the pool and the floral hall is where the events arena and the Sea Life Centre is today.
You should be cold.
And I have
63 if you were looking at 59, we used to go in.
And I have two postcards. This is a postcard, and I have 2 original postcards like this to give away later after when I'm going to ask a couple of questions. I think we've just got one more slide now. Is it? One more slide. And if you ever want to read, any of the fascinating stories I've written over the years, they're all in 4 Memory Lane books, and they're available in Gwas-Caerlugain in Kimmel Street. And they must be a good read, because Carol Vorderman's reading this particular one.
Are they all still in print, Harry?
They're all 4 of them are still in print, and there's about 300 stories in the 4 of them. I think they're about £6 or £7 each. And this is a documentary I made on Who Do You Think You Are, and Carol Morden was very while she took a break, she said, "Can I read your book, Harry?" I says, "That'll cost you £7, please."
Broker.
And I think we've got one more slide left, and just I think yes, one more slide, and just to put a smile on your face, and to leave you going home with that nice warm feeling. This is the last slide, and I hope you like it.
Oh.
I've lost my clothes on the beach, and I'm coming home like this from Rhyl.
I used to love them. They don't do print them anymore.
So we can have the lights on now, Mike. Please.
You didn't mention seeing My Little Willie, have you?
Well, there's lots of others, but they're too rude to bring.
Yeah. Oh, that was very good.
Well, I hope you've enjoyed the evening. There's a comments book on the table there. If you don't mind, I've got 2 cards to give away, haven't I? There's 2. If you wouldn't mind writing your name and address in the comments, please. That'd be very much obliged, just for my own archives, really. Thank you.
What is it?
But I think I've proved one thing at my introduction, that the need to preserve the history and heritage of where we live is valuable and important to us all, isn't it? And one way of are you listening? And one way of preserving our history and heritage is through old postcards and photographs. I think they give us a great window in which we can view the past and show us a world lost forever, don't you think? Yeah, and I think I've proved that, and I'm still collecting as much as ever. This is a postcard I've recently obtained off a friend of mine who's a postcard dealer. I found this for you at a fair, Harry, and unfortunately it's a pull-out. It's a Rutland pull-out. You pull the lift the flap up and pull. There's a strip of views on it, and that's one 1917 of Rutland. It's quite nice, isn't it?
Goodness gracious, yes.
But unfortunately, the strip of views are missing. But still a nice card, though, isn't it?
Oh yes, beautiful.
Yeah, still a nice card. Any questions at all? But as I say, you know, if anybody's got any, I've got a large collection of Rutland postcards, and if you like, if whoever's copying postcards, if anybody likes to come down to my place and get them copied, I'd be happy to do that for your club, you know.
Yeah, love to Barry again.
Barry,
again.
Yeah,
I'll bring my paintbrush.
take my number. And if you want to come down and have a look anytime and take copies of whatever.
Great.
Have you got a scanner or a laptop? You can do that, yeah.
Yeah, that'd be great.
My number's on the leaflet. Have you got a leaflet?
No, I'm too busy doing things.
No, sorry.
Go on, you've been sat there with Yaxie all night.
Any questions at all now?
Going back to the one by the Lido, that wall you were describing, wasn't there a rifle range there one time?
Well, the old police station was, that's right, yes there was, yeah. I don't know much about that rifle, but I've been told there was a rifle range there, that's right, yes. Yeah, because the Tower Beach Camp, when it opened in 1939, it was the beginning of the First War, of course, and as soon as the Royal Corps of Signals took the camp over, and they had to tell all the holiday makers to go out.
Weren't the Americans there, Harry?
I don't know.
No.
I'm not sure.
The Americans went.
No, I've not heard that the Americans were there at all, no.
I vaguely remember a wall which I presume would be the back of a shooting range on land at Gronant, and possibly...
Talacra?
No, not as far as that. On the left-hand side, just past the new Prestatyn the golf club, just past there on the left. And there was another one on closer to the Grand Hotel years ago.
I've got coffee.
When I was so high. But there were 1 or 2 rifle ranges round, I think, for practice use.
Yes, I forgot to mention. Yeah, can I also mention that you know the Beatles appeared? As I forgot to mention that, and I help unveil these plaques. There's a the Beatles appeared at the at the Regent Stand set. If you go there now, just on the wall, you'll see a plaque. The Beatles appeared here, and the same on the Nova. There's a plaque on the Nova as well, and there's also they appeared at the Ritz. I think there's one somewhere by where the Ocean Beach, somewhere along that promenade somewhere as well. I don't know where that is, but I helped them. In fact, I've got slides of the original agents who booked the Beatles in '62, still alive, and he came down for the buffet we had, and there was a Beatles group on, and and I've got a photograph. I had a photograph of that, but unfortunately, as I say, I couldn't bring. Have I gone over my time?
Yes.
Yes. Well, don't panic.
I do apologise.
It's all right. Don't worry.
We'll work round you.
Yeah, while we got this bit of respite, I want to say thank you very much, Harry.
Yeah.
We've had a fabulous evening. The photographs were absolutely. But if anybody wants to ask questions, or does anybody want coffee? I shout over now, or is tea all right?
I'd like sugar. Please.
Oh, and a black coffee.
And I'll come round any minute now with raffle tickets.
Black coffee.
How much are they?
You've all got to
I don't think I've got any money with me.
Oh.
How much are they?
Free? No, we don't charge anybody. Do you want a tea?
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Mike. And thank you very much for your kind comments. Very kind.
Yeah, no, they were fabulous.
Come again.
The best one, I think, is the one of the floral hall and the bats and the pavilion. It's really good.
Because they're still within living memory, aren't they?
Yeah, well, I mean, I used to go to those bats every day in the summer. You know, we just lived there.
Oh, I forgot I got 2 postcards on there to give away. Can I just show you? Can I have your attention, please? Before the police come. Order. These, you know, the last slide I showed. Well, that's the original postcards. An original postcard there, the floral hall, the pavilion, and the bats.
Brilliant, that is.
And I've got 2 to give away. If somebody gives me the right answer to these questions. How much money have I got in the bank?
Now then. Oh,
what was the name of the... I've got 2 questions. What was the name of the man who dived off Rhyl Pier in 1869?
Tommy Burns.
No, everybody said Mr. Burns somebody, but somebody said Tommy Burns here. Who was it? The lady. Who said Tommy Burns first? The man put his hand up. I don't know. Who was it?
don't worry about it.
Do you want to hand it to... I can always post you one anyway.
Naomi.
Naomi. Do you want to hand it down to that? There you are. Thank you very much.
She's over there.
Hold it over.
Who is it?
What would you like?
Could I have a tea, Isabel, do you think, please? Raffle tickets, ladies. Pint.
Okay, we've got one more question. In what year was the pier built?
1868. 1868.
No, you said 67. Very good, yes, 1867. Year up. Oh, sorry, there you are.
Okay, cheers.
Yeah, I like it.
Okay, thanks very much. Okay, thanks. Very nice, that,
Oh, do you know what?
Naomi, give me your name and address.